this one, they're only looking at, okay, what is the value, what are 3 vendors, so you can come across so they're only looking at this particular thing, they're not looking at everything. And that's where you find the IT guys IT auditor can come in and help the enterprise to achieve business goals by managing the risk. A sculptor was asked, what is the secret of success? How is he able to carve such beautiful statues? He says that there is no secret. When I see a piece of stone, I see the statue inside, but others are not able to see. So what do? I bring the statue to my place, stone to my place, use my tools and implements, and remove the unwanted parts, and then the statue emerges from the stone. Now my question is, you can go for lunch if you answer this correctly. My question is, where was the statue? Was it in stone? Was it somewhere else?
In his mind.
Yeah, it was in his mind. Okay, which means they say creation happens twice. First in the mind and second outside. The sculptor knew what is that he wanted to carve, and then he is able to remove the unwanted parts. So if you compare this analogy and bring it to IS audit, the business wants to achieve certain goals. So you should be clear what are the so these unwanted parts are like the risk. So you should be able to look at what are the risks and then be able to tell them, okay, this is the best way to carve that particular statue. You are not going to carve the statue for them, but you're going to look at the process they use for carving the statue and tell them, okay, these are the places it is wrong. For example, yesterday we went to Mother's Wax Museum and we had one, this one, I said, who is it? Then he said, Sachin Tendulkar. It doesn't look like Sachin Tendulkar. And we went to London also and seen the wax museum. Then I found, no, so many personalities I found. See, some of the common we know, but some of these is Ganguly. Ganguly is such a signal. It looks like only 60-70% is there. Okay. So quite often they have not taken care of the basic thing. Okay. So I have to read the nameplate, then it's got Tendulkar. It should have not happen that way. So when you're using technology also, I think it's very, very important that you should be clear about what technology can deliver, and IT auditors, we should be able to ensure that the technology is able to deliver value. That is the core message I wanted to give in the first part of the presentation. Any questions? I promise this will be like a T20. I'd like to see that it's like a T20. Is it for this one? Is it clear? Yes. Because I just want to take some key ideas and concepts which you can immediately apply.
CA Abdul Rafiq sir, with his amazing personality and knowledge, and since we have had a heartful lunch, can we have a heartfelt round of applause for sir again?
Before we get started, I thought I'll show you one or two videos which will convey a message, because sometimes I found the videos give a message which you can remember for a longer time. I'll just play the video, then I want to tell me what is the message. Okay, sorry, we tend to make some basic mistakes sometimes. So you have the traditional way, you can continue doing your traditional fishing in the traditional way, or you can find new ways. In technology, another important lesson is, when our organizations tend to implement technology, they try to understand the current or the existing processes and systems, and then try to automate, which will be not automation, it will be mechanization. Because what you're doing manually, you're trying to do through the computer. What you should also look at is, okay, what is that you want to achieve? And based on that, you should be able to use computers to be able to achieve or develop the solution in that particular way. I'll show one more. You have writing pad with you?
Yes.
Yeah, so okay. We'll teach you a new skill if you don't know.
Hi.
Just follow.
One question for you. How many people here would say they can draw? Well, I think we've got about one.
No, he's asking how many of you can
going up. And it's
draw.
It's a little bit like people think of spelling or singing. They think, well, you can either do it or you can't.
Just follow what he's showing.
I think it's more to do with beliefs rather than talent. So I think when you say you can't draw, it's just sound. I'd like to prove that. And when I say draw, I'm not saying we're all going to draw like Michelangelo. We're not going to be painting specific just ceilings. But would you be happy if, by the end of this session, you could draw pictures? A bit like this. Or even, a little bit like this. Well, actually, there's only two things you need to do to be able to achieve this. One is have an open mind. You up for that? And two, just be prepared to have a go. So grab a pen and
Showing
use a
you
pen.
how you can draw this. He teaches a one-day course in which he shows you how to paint. Okay, just follow this. After that, I'll ask you to draw. Then
Okay.
you can do it.
So here's how it's going to work. I'll show you the first cartoon we're going to do.
I just follow this.
watch to begin with.
It's okay.
Just watch. That's going to be our first cartoon. It's a character called Spike. So I'd like you to draw along with me.
Okay,
So
now
I'll
he has
draw
drawn
the
this
first
one
line.
figure.
You draw, and when
What he
you've
showed you
done
now.
and I know you're ready for the next line.
If I ask you to draw based on this, you find that you will not be able to do it. Unless you are an expert.
That's going to be our first cartoon.
Okay, now the challenge is next 2-3 minutes you learn
I'd
how
like
to
you
do this.
draw along with me.
Okay,
So I'll
just
do the
follow.
line,
First one you
draw,
see,
and when you've done that,
next
look
you
up,
follow.
And I know you're ready for the next line. Okay. Here we go. Start with the nose.
Okay, you can draw down.
Now, the eyes.
You can draw the eyes like this.
66s or speech marks. Next, the mouth. Nice big smile. Now, over here, the ear.
You can draw the ear.
Some spiky hair. Next, put the pen to the left of the mouth. Little line like that. Pen under the ear. Drop a line like that. Pen to the left of the neck. Top of the t-shirt. Line to the left. Line to the right. Just hold. Hi, I've got a question for you. So I think when you say you can't draw. And when I
So
say
you are able to follow this?
Yes.
So how is the painting? Can you just show? How is your drawing?
By the end, you can draw pictures.
Huh? Not bad. Okay.
Well, actually,
Good.
there's a-
So we'll do one thing. We'll do one more.
I'll show you the
Then I'll
first
tell you what is the
cartoon.
message. Then you can tell me what
Just
is the
watch
message.
to begin with.
Just follow this.
Here we go. Just watching.
Once you do 3-4 times, you find that you can do it
That's going to be our
automatically.
first cartoon.
This one.
It's a character called Spike. So I'd like you to draw along with me. So I'll draw the first line, you draw, and when you've done that, look up, and I know you're ready for the next line. Okay. Here we go. Start with the nose.
Okay, first the nose.
Now, the eyes, they're like 66s or speech marks. Next, the mouth. Nice big smile. Now, over here, the ear. Next, some spiky hair. Next, put the pen to the left of the mouth. A little line like that. Pen under the ear. Drop a line like that. Pen to the left of the neck. Top of the t-shirt. Line to the left. Line to the right. Just hold your drawings up and show everybody. How are we all doing? Okay.
So we'll
Draw
just do
one
oh,
cartoon, but you've actually learned more than that. It is. Draw along with me.
Now just follow this. This is another one.
Smile. That's it. Now some hair. Pen to the left of the mouth. Under the hair. Little V shape at the top. Line to the left. Line to the right. So we've got another character. Let's call her
Okay.
Thelma.
Right, you can see it's available on YouTube how to what is that? Why people believe they can't draw. That's the name. You can see it on YouTube. It's a 6-minute video. We'll show you different types of painting. Okay, and you find that I'm bad in handwriting also, and I'm surprised I could draw beautiful this one cartoons like the way he did it. Now I just want you to tell me what is the message I want to give in this. What is that which I want to convey through this video? Yeah.
Breaking things into smaller and simpler.
Okay, good. So that is first is break down into components. Okay, what is the next step?
Second is he's telling this is the nose, this is the eyes. So you set the context what you are doing it
Okay.
and why
good.
you are doing it.
Okay, good. Then
Perfect guidance.
guidance. Okay, guidance in what?
So when you have potential, only you need the training.
No,
No,
the
and
one
he's
important thing.
repeating that so that it becomes a habit. The process
Okay,
becomes
good.
a
There's one
habit.
more important thing I want to tell you.
Standardization.
Huh?
Standardization. His eyes
Yeah.
were exactly 6'6". His nose was
Yeah.
triangular
So,
version.
right, there is a standardization. There's one more thing.
Something in mind. What is coming?
Okay, so there is an idea what he wants to convey based on that he's drawing. So you find he actually does about 5-6 cartoons. Okay, so but there's one important thing which I want to
Nothing
do.
is important.
Process.
No, what? Okay, that is generic.
Process.
Yes. Most important is process, step by step. Okay, first you draw the nose, then you draw this like that. There's a particular process you follow, and there's a particular standardization. Once you do that, you find there are about 10 types of cartoon you draw, and then you do it 3-4 times. You find that you can do it because you already have standardized that. So in IT audit or in any organization you have to implement, you ensure that there is a standardized step-by-step process. We call it a systematic approach, and then you ensure everybody is trained and then follow that. Then you will be able to get standard results. So in IT audit also, whatever the type of audit, I think that's what is important. You need to have a standard approach and step by step how you're going to do that. Okay, I think many of you had soup. There's one interesting story I remember. I just want to convey a message about the story. It said once in a big company, they're not able to decide between the two vice presidents who could be promoted as president. So they did multiple levels of interview, and still they're not able to decide. The HR, the past president, everybody, they couldn't decide. And then they decided to ask the chairman, okay, who's the senior person, sir, we are at this dilemma, can you help us? So the chairman came, he said, no problem, I'll just take them out for lunch, you tell me, I'll interview them, then I'll give you my decision. Okay. He took them out for lunch. After lunch he came back and he told them, I think you appoint this Mr. X. And the HR guys and the president, everybody said, sir, how you are able to decide just over a period of lunch, not even 1 hour? We have spent so many hours doing multiple rounds of interview. We are not able to decide, but you are able to decide in just by lunch. He said, no, it's very simple. I had to just observe. Based on the observation, I know who is the right candidate among the two of them. Although in most of the experience, caliber, everything, both are same. But there's one important thing we need for the job. And this Mr. X has it. And sir, how we are not able to find, how you are able to find? He said, very simple. I ordered for soup. When the soup came in, Mr. X, Y, let's say X and Y put salt and pepper and took the soup. Mr. X first tasted the soup, then he put salt and pepper. Both of them put salt and pepper. But when did they do it? So he said, when I'm appointing somebody as president, I do not want him to operate from his past knowledge experience only, where knowledge becomes a baggage. I want him to look at the data and then come to a decision. Now the second guy tasted the soup. He did not go by the pre-bias, no, that this is like this soup is always, they don't put enough salt, pepper, and he didn't put. He said he took the decision based on the facts. So I want my president to decide based on the facts, and that's why he said X is the right person. So in IT audit also, or anything for that matter, I think we don't go by what the management says. We look at what the management has done, which is actually proven by the documents and the records. We don't just go by what they say. Okay, let's just look at quickly, I'll run through this one. Why do you need for third-party risk management? We already discussed this. If you look at a contractual relation, this is what I said, you need to put things in a structured way. So you find, okay, there's a particular setup, there's a contract, operations and transition out. These are the 4 key steps, and there are multiple things which are which have to be done. Similarly, you also have to assign the responsibilities in terms of each level layer of management. What are they accountable for? What are they responsible for? And who should be consulted? Okay.
This will be for the vendor side.
This will be stakeholders' responsibilities within the enterprise.
Within the enterprise.
Within the enterprise. We can also ask for the vendor. Okay, within the vendor, in the organization, how is he managing this process? We can also use the same. Okay, way of performing. So we know managing third-party risk is a risk. You have to take care of this. These are the types of risks which would be there. The volume of data, type of data access, location with the services there. So there could be different impact of risk due to different factors. Now what are the important things which have to be there when you look at SLA? This is the most important thing which is looked at a third party risk management. What are the terms and whether terms are clear? Okay, these are broad areas we looked at. And if you look at the TPM life cycle which we talked about, this is the life cycle or the step by step. So first you have identification screening. Who are the third party vendors whom you're going to deal with? How you're going to onboard them? Evaluation and selection. You do risk assessment, and then based on that you do a risk mitigation. Then you do the contracting and procurement from them, and then you have reporting and record keeping to ensure the services are delivered as per the requirement. And then you also have an ongoing monitoring system. And then you may also do third party onboarding, or you may also transition it out, which means you should be also take care that if you are moving to a different vendor, you should still be able to take care of the services which is to provide. Now the important thing, especially outsourcing, has become an important dependency for most of the large organizations. For example, banks, the network they're providing, they don't know none of them have their own network. They are providing on it, they're depending on a vendor. So RB has come out with a document on this guidelines for outsourcing. Okay, so what is important is when they say multiple regulatory requirements, for example, let's say there are healthcare industry, they got something called HIPAA. Like that, multiple industries have got multiple regulations. What is important is we need to have a framework. Okay, what is the standard way of doing things? Okay, based on that you need to understand what are the type of risks which can happen for different type of entities at different stages, and based on that you should be able to do the assessment. Evaluate third party compliance reports. You can also get, in the case of third party, in fact in the case of USA, we have something called the SOC 2 report, and this is done extensively, which means any vendor before onboarding, they ask him to get a SOC 2 report done. You can also have penetration testing done, because many of the cases, for example, let's say banking companies, when they want to procure a software, they'll also say, okay, can you get a penetration testing done of your environment to check how secure you are. So you also have third party audits which can be done. Now what is important to report is when you look at compliance reports, many of the software companies also have a policy before even pre-evaluation, which means they evaluate the software, they ask the party to ensure that this is actually audited by a third party independent IT auditor. So we should be very clear about what is the scope of the particular audit. Okay, for example, it's a data center. Okay, what is the type of report is required? For example, if you look at a SOC 2 report, there's nothing like, no, this is my way of doing things. So the auditor says you have to do it in this way, you have to do it. You have to ensure compliance. Okay, otherwise there will be qualification. Okay, let's look at audit itself. So these are the broad steps. I said you look at the structured approach. Any audit for that matter, you find these will be the broad steps. Let's apply the same thing to AI in the context of AI, and let's see it. Okay, obtain understanding of the environment by interviewing and reviewing relevant documents. Okay, what is that you want to do? Why you want to do it? Okay, next. This one, test specific areas. Now, assess the role and risk associated with outsourcing through specific service providers. This pertains to service. This one, outsourcing. This is what you look at. Test specific areas relevant for educate appropriate controls. Identify and report on areas of control weaknesses. So, if you apply the same thing in AI, can you tell me what would be the 4 steps? The first step will be
Policies.
Identify where you are going to apply AI. What are the reasons you want to apply, and then based on that you decide. Okay, this is the scope of that particular assignment. Okay, next, if you look at AI, how is AI developed? This through machine learning, like supervised learning, unsupervised learning. What is the data used for training? Okay, how do they come to a conclusion, and what is the integrity of the particular software which has been developed? You look at that, and then based on that you test. Okay, giving different types of scenarios. Like morning I said, if there is an accident, if there is a particular failure of the particular vehicle, okay, if there is an accident, what are the principles which actually govern this? So you look at it. In fact, I told you in the morning also, ISACA has come out with 2 publications pertaining to machine learning, which explains the same concept in a very, very simple way. Okay, so if you're auditing AI or you have to audit AI for clients, you can use the document. And the first step in most every case, when you do IS audit, what is that you're interested in? Identify the control weakness, which means what are the areas of improvement, and provide recommendations for mitigation. This is what you want to, this is the bottom line. Now there are some cases auditors, especially if you are a, let's say auditor from the ISO, they say no, auditor is not supposed to provide recommendations. Okay, as an IT auditor you should know, or an IS auditor, we are not an ISO auditor who is supposed to do an independent evaluation. Okay, in IS audit, your report is useless unless you provide appropriate recommendations. That has to be there. Audit procedures, this gives you a detailed step of audit procedures which you need to follow. There are also guidelines issued by ISACA which tells you, okay, if you're auditing outsourcing, what are the things you have to review? So a lot of information is available ready-made for third-party risk management. This talks about general principles. There's also a document called Audit Oversight for Onboarding Vendors, which is available on ISACA's website. Interestingly, many of the companies are outsourced. You find they also use, especially for cloud computing, they use Microsoft Azure. ISACA has come out with an audit program for Microsoft Azure itself. Okay, if you're auditing Microsoft Azure, or your client is actually using Microsoft Azure, what are the aspects they have to look at? Okay, they explain in detail. They have actually given for each of the areas the step by step. I'll show you that Excel document also. And this is available for free download. Why? This gives you the basic concepts. If you look at life cycle pertaining to TPRM, this is what you should be looking at. This gives you analysis in terms of dashboard, the reports you need to have when you do a risk assessment for third-party risk management. What are the benefits of risk management approach? So when you look at third party, you need to ensure that there's a single repository and then achieve the accountability and ownership. Then also ensure build trust by using the RACI model. This gives you some more steps. I'll share the presentation with you, with ISACA. Okay, these are the next steps which you talked about. So what does it talk about the recommendations? Implement a holistic third-party risk management covering the entire life cycle, which means you should look at all the steps for the TPRM and ensure that you are auditing each of these areas. Extend the third-party coverage to include various types of third parties. And extend the risk domain to cover different types of risk the TPA brings in, because when you are allowing a third party to enter into your data domain, there are new types of risks. So you should evaluate that, and then ensure that proper controls are there. Work on assessment approach and tweak it to make it commensurate to the risk TPA, which means you need to assess what is the type of risk, look at what are the type of controls and give your recommendations. And also ensure that all the identified issues are mitigated. And in case the third party, he has got one more party, which is called as the fourth party, some cases you may also have to look at that also. You also need to consider the common requirement from different regulations. Okay, so before I go to the questions, I just want to show you the docs before you go further. If you look at the Excel file, this is what I was talking about. Yeah, so this is the Excel document which is available as a download. It's an Excel file, okay, which means you can readily use it. Okay, now they talk about different areas. Now first they give you the first worksheet, they give you the instructions. Now if you look at the instructions, these are the broad areas, what is to be done for each of this. Okay, and then they also give you for each of the areas, for example, let's say governance. Okay, what are the process area, what are the reference risk, what are the control objective, what are the controls, control type, and most important, what are the steps you need to follow for testing. So this is a ready-made program which is available on ISACA's website, which you can download as a member free of cost. Similarly, they look at network configuration management. Like that, they have got different areas for which they have got the step-by-step instructions.
Starting route to 1 Ramchand Mukherjee Lane, Jatindas Park.
So,
You can ask.
is this vendor specific? I mean, we saw that
No.
for Azure, can we use it for
Yeah.
Google and Amazon?
Yes,
It is
you can
common.
use it. Yeah, you just have to tweak it to some extent. Most of the cases, what Azure provides, same thing is provided by other vendors also. You can tweak it and use it. Okay, now let's go to the next topic. Yeah, before we go to the next topic, I think I have about 30 minutes. Yeah. Any questions of this?
I have a question.
Yeah.
On this TPR, when we work with like, process-heavy organizations like enterprise or premium, they have set their own processes like our threshold, and we identify that okay, the vendors or the partners who matches our with the policy.
Okay.
What happens is, we onboard them and they outsource it again and then again. And at a point it becomes extremely difficult that unless there is an incident, that's actually a big threat or a big vulnerability, we can say.
Okay.
How do we mitigate? I mean, how do we kind of...
The simple fact is, as a part of the SLA, you should be clear about the terms which are there. For example, let's say the banks appoint you chartered accountant as the concurrent auditors. In the case of concurrent auditors, when in the appointment itself, they clearly specify that this particular assignment cannot be outsourced. It has to be done internally only. So in your agreement, depending on the criticality of the particular process, you need to decide what can be outsourced, what cannot be outsourced. If, as per the terms, if you have specified this can be outsourced, in that case, if you left it open, then there is this risk which you're taking care. Then you have to look at the criticality and then decide, okay, finally it's the vendor's responsibility, the TPS responsibility. But if it's depending on other parties and that is going to impact you, the criticality for you is much more. Then in that case, you have to decide what is going to be done by the TPA, which cannot be outsourced. You can specify in the agreement. That becomes a critical part of the agreement.
Yeah.
If it is not adhered to, it will be done, and if it's outsourced, it will be the contract will be terminated.
I mean, like,
Okay.
you're aware of this SLA thing, SLA as a tool to use that?
Yeah, SLA is an important thing which has to be done. In fact, one of the things which is there in SLA is, in fact, I'll be covering this a little more detail when you come to the cloud sourcing. One of the important things which is covered is what are the terms which are there in the SLA, and one of the important things is whether the vendor can get an external audit done. For example, let's say Standard Chartered Bank had outsourced a particular payroll processing to one BPO company. We are doing the audit of the particular company, and the Standard Chartered Bank appointed PwC to audit the particular vendor and give a report as to how strong the controls were there as relevant to the PwC contract which they entered. Okay, so you can specify that. That has to be specified as a part of the contract. And if you are a significant contributor in terms of revenue to that particular company, they'll definitely agree. It's a part of the agreement.
It's a right to audit clause.
Yeah,
What I was trying to focus is, I mean, at times we find that it's easier said than done. But with processes like, with BCP comes, once in a while. COVID hit, we were all actually lost. On those factors, it's very difficult to kind of have a total holistic view of how everything is operating.
I agree.
And,
See,
and
most of the
another
cases.
one is HR. Right? I mean, outsourcing manpower. He outsource and then he outsource and then he outsource. There is a.
See, the basic principle is there is a process you want to perform. The process got a deliverable, and you want to ensure that they are in control. They are in your control or the vendor's control. You know that you are in control, or you know the vendor is in control, and you are monitoring that. So this is the basic principle which has to be taken care of. So if you build that, then you will see that the vendor will have to this. And if it doesn't agree, then you find another vendor who will agree. Okay, you're asking for
Yeah, that means the audit requirement you were talking about, that will be in the right to audit clause.
Yes.
But I have got a question. Suppose I'm in Standard Chartered and I have outsourced a part to one company and I'm appointing a third-party auditor.
Yeah.
Now, when third-party auditor audits that company, they found there is another auditor or another third party, fourth party supporting that third party. So what will they do? So
in that case, it depends on the agreement. It depends on the clauses in the agreement. If the third, with the auditor, with this vendor, with this particular company, you are Standard Bank, you have entered the agreement with the vendor, and you ask PwC to do the audit. Okay. Now, when they do the audit, they find that okay, the data center has been outsourced. In that case, they can audit that particular person also to the extent required. not a full-fledged this one. To the extent required, they can do. Otherwise, you will have an endless cycle. There is no end to that. So you should have a particular place where you can do that. Okay, let's go to this cloud computing. I'm going to quickly run through this. These are the broad areas I'm going to look at. Cloud computing, the what and the why. We look at how cloud computing is done. Some of these are basic concepts. I'm going to quickly run through them. And then focus on the security and the audit. This is the basic concepts of cloud computing. Most of us are using. Whether we are aware or not, we are all in the cloud. These are the cloud services. These are the key definitions, especially from the audit point of view. You need to know who has got access to the cloud, the data in the cloud, and who can operate this. And these are the cloud participants. These are the fundamentals of cloud. Why are you going for the cloud? There is an on-demand self-service. There is a broad network access. You can pool the resources. There is a rapid elasticity. Depending on the need, you can scale up or scale down. And there is a measured service for which you pay, based on which you pay. This gives you a snapshot of cloud computing. So you have software as a service, platform as a service, infrastructure as a service. So the basic thing is only infrastructure is provided. Then you install the software, which is required as per the platform, and then you install the software. In the platform as a service, they give you the platform itself. Okay. For example, you want it with Windows, they will give it with this one. Second, now you want Tally also on the cloud. They'll give it Tally on the cloud. Then with Tally on the cloud, it becomes software as a service. So not only giving the infrastructure, I can also buy a virtual desktop or a virtual computer. In that case, they'll just give me the space, the infrastructure. I can load my OS, and then I can load the software. Okay, these are the three ways you can create in public, private, or hybrid. And from the audit point of view, what is most important is we need to provide trust. For trust, we need to start right at the top, which is the governance, and then you look at identity, and then we have aspects pertaining to authentication, okay, and then authorization and the authority. Now this gives you the cloud deployment models. Which one of them is have the highest risk? Or if you pick the two, private and public. Private has a lower risk compared to public.
One thing I would like to ask you, that still the government, the Indian government, they feel that their data is not safe when they are keeping it in clouds in India. That is, the server has to be in India. Why is it? You must have faced it also. Probably.
See, the basic concept is wherever you keep, in whatever you keep the data is never 100% absolutely safe. It may be already there in China and so many other countries. In that they can do it for various, they can use it for various types of manipulation. For example, let's say Facebook. They say probably they used it for manipulation of the elections. So that can happen. So that's why they say at least keep the data in India to take care of the security requirements. Because the data is in India, then you can also ensure that the information is
a real threat.
See, one thing is, like they say, the ship is safest in the harbor, but that's not where it's supposed to be. Now, when the ship sails, is there a risk? There is always a risk. So there is always, if you want to make progress, we have to take risks.
Very good.
But we have to ensure that the risks are monitored. If you have not taken the risk, our ancestors have not taken the risk, would have been still living in the forest. So risk is something which we have to take. But what is important is we need to take, like they say, calculated risk. Have we evaluated the risk and taken the decision, or have we blindly taken the risk? Yeah, the only problem in India is chalta had to do it, that becomes a problem. So it's always important that we evaluate and come to a decision. Okay, this is the cloud story. They say, if you look at the basic concept, you had the servers for each of the departments or units. In this case, you have a common server, which is outsourced, and all the department can access the information. So there it becomes cost effective. Now if you look at this one slide explains the whole concept about cloud computing. What can users do with cloud computing? Now this explains one by one. So users can remotely store the data on the cloud and they can access anytime, anywhere. And using a shared pool of resources, data outsourcing, users are released from the burden of maintaining the particular data, because everything is managed by the vendor. Okay. So you have basic concepts, and then if you look at the concept here, you got a common data repository, and the users can access this from anywhere on the cloud. There are some experts who have commented on the YouTube, what will happen if the rain falls in the cloud, all those things. You should know that the cloud doesn't have any is a concept. It doesn't have to do anything with the rainfall. In fact, there's one famous IAS officer who has given videos also on what will happen in cloud mein kya hoga, barish aa gaya to kya hoga, data ka, wo kya bhig jayega. He has given a lot of videos on that. So it's important that you should know what, that like remember, you should know what technology can do, what it cannot do, and how it works, and what are the risks pertaining to that. These are the 6 core questions about the cloud. Okay, when you are going to the cloud, these are some decisions you have to take. So fundamentally, it's about the service which is being outsourced at a cost. Okay, and it comes with associated risks. Okay, are you going to benefit from that? So if so, you go ahead and do that. Okay, why cloud computing? What are the benefits? Now let's look at the how. First, you should important that cloud computing is an ecosystem. Okay, he is not doing cloud, he is not doing specifically for you. If he is doing specifically for you, then it becomes a private cloud. Okay, so there is the organization, there is the technology, and there is a process which is there, the skills involved. You need to look at who is managing all this. So you need to look at the cloud as an ecosystem. Now if you look at traditional IT, the basic concept, you had one CPU which was used for 1,000 hours. Here you have 1,000 CPUs you can use for 1 hour. Okay, so you have these various concepts, location dependent, accessible everywhere. Now here what happens in the case of traditional IT is, every investment in IT becomes a capital expenditure, whereas in the case of outsourcing it becomes operational expenditure. These are the broad areas you need to consider. You need to ask questions pertaining to each of these areas. Okay, what are the business processes we are outsourcing? What are the different workloads? For example, let's say in case of payroll outsourcing for the company, I found they receive the data from, let's say, from 27 to 24th of the month. Okay, they get the payroll data. They process within 2-3 days, and then they have to ensure that the salary, everything is paid on the last day of the month. Okay, now for them the critical period is, okay, this 21st to 31st. Okay, initially between the particular, this one initially 28 to this one, 1st to 21st, they may not have much criticality, but the most critical processing time becomes from 21st to 31st. Now, if there is a disruption of IT at the time, that becomes very, very critical. So this impact, this general concept, how to migrate to the cloud. You need to consider what is the current IT environment in deciding what is the right cloud strategy. So based on that, you decide what are the type of cloud service is required by you. For example, let's say some of the CAs say that I want Tally on the cloud. Now, if you want Tally on the cloud also, they've got different types of solutions. So you should know what is the type of solution you want to have. Some of them implement Tally in such a way that they've got a virtual desktop. The primary objective is my staff, they may be sitting anywhere, they should be able to access the Tally data and do the audit or update the accounts. If that is the case, that is the goal. Now, how do you want to achieve it? You can buy a virtual server, you can load the OS you want, you can also load Tally, and you can create the users, which means instead of physical server which is there in your office, that is a virtual server which is sitting somewhere. And all the staff, you create the user IDs, you have the access control so they can access. Or if you take it as a software as a service, there is a vendor who creates all this particular environment, he charges you particular money, he gives you the user IDs depending on what you want, and you pay him for usage. If you look at other type of service, for example, there is a software called Zoho, where you don't need to buy the software or anything, you just log in, per user you pay a particular amount of money, and you can maintain the accounts online. So you need to decide what is the right environment for you. Some of them say, for me security is paramount, I can't think of going for a solution like Zoho. Okay, some of them still more paranoid, they say no, I don't want the dependence on the third party vendor for the Tally data. I would like to have only the service, I will have access to the data, everything on my own. Now if you look at security, now what you need to look at is, there are risks at each of the layers. Each type of service has different types of risk. For example, if you look at platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service, or software as a service, each of them have their own risks. In the case of software as a service, what is the risk? If you're taking the service from the vendor, which means the data could be accessible by the vendor. Okay, you depend on the vendor for that itself. This gives you the vulnerabilities. It's not only you are the only customer for the vendor, there could be multiple vendors. In that case, how do you take care of this? There are also compliance which have to be taken care of. First is you start with all the things like governance. Okay, from the governance point of view, what is the distinction between governance and management? Because this is a basic thing, I think people tend to get confused.
Governance is the regulations.
No, I'm not talking from the government point, from the enterprise point of view, what is the distinction between governance and management?
Governance will keep the policies.
Management should achieve the governance. So
Okay.
governance
So
is
who does the
something what you
who does the
should-
governance?
Management is responsible
Governance
for the
is done by
government.
management.
No.
Or
Governance
the-
is done by the board of directors.
By the owner.
Board of directors, and the management is supposed to execute that. Okay, so the governance is the direction laying body. It's like the captain of the ship. Okay, this is the destination we're taking, and all the guys in the ship who are working will actually work towards ensuring the ship is moved in the right direction. So when you're looking at each of the places, you should. What I'm saying is, you need to start right at the top. You can get different perspectives from different angles. For example, I had gone to Niagara Falls a few years back. Now, first time I went, I saw it from the from the what do you call that? From the outside, this one, gallery like that. You're standing. Okay, so you have some feel of the water, everything. Second time you saw from a restaurant. Third time you saw from a tower. Fourth time I went in the helicopter ride. Okay. Fifth time I went with the boat near the water. Now each of them has its own risk, gives a different perspective. Okay, so you should look at, for example, if I'm looking at from this one flying the helicopter, what are the type of this one governance perspective I get? I get to know where it originates, how does it flow, everything can get. Here I can only get when I go right near the water, what is that? I can get what is the depth of the water, how much this one is there. Okay, so each of them has their own risk. So when you're doing audit also, you should decide not only there is a horizontal exposure, there is also a vertical expertise which is required. Now these are some of the cloud challenges, computing challenges we need to consider. These are some of the principles. This I told you we'll talk about some of the questions. These are some of the questions you have to ask the vendor. Okay, what kind of data will be in the cloud? Where do the data subjects reside? Where will the data be stored? How is the data secured? How is the data? Where are the servers? Will the data be transferred to other locations? Okay, when will the data be commingled? So like that you have a series of questions we should ask the vendor. What is the cloud relationship? Who will be actually storing, processing or transmitting the customer data? Does the cloud provider have rights in its subcontracts to permit compliance with the customer's contracts? Like that you have different aspects pertaining to your requirements which you get assessed yourself or with the clients. Now here there's one more list of key questions to consider for risk assessment in the cloud. It starts with what is the expected availability? What is the performance? Okay, or what is the downtime which you can accept? How are identity and access managed in the cloud? Where will the enterprise data be stored? Like that you have a series of questions which you ask the vendor. Based on that you take a decision. What is acceptable, what is not acceptable. In case of some of the standard vendors, they may have standard conditions, this is what we do and this we cannot do. But in the case many of the vendors, if you say I want specific thing, they will be able to do. But at what? For everything they say we have a cost. For example, we are doing audit of one foreign company, application audit and the IT general controls audit. And what they had was, they had a particular location, physical location, where all the employees were hired by the particular company. They were sitting there and they are accessing the server which is based in US. Okay, all these employees have a separate access controls. Physically they are located in a particular place. The backup, everything is done in the server, which is available intrastly. Now, for example, I had done audit for Infosys. In some places, when we went to the Infosys location, they said, no, this you are not permitted, you cannot go. We are doing the audit of their banking software. Then they said, no, this is a separate location for our, let's say, Standard Chartered Bank customers. And they have demanded the security in this particular way. Then I said, why are you giving special security? He said, no, who is able to pay for us, we'll give whatever security they want, as long as they're willing to pay the cost. So you should know what is the type of security you want, what is the risk for that, what is security you want, and what is the amount you're going to willing to pay for this.
Now I want to take this example. Suppose you're auditing Infosys and they have got certain partners who want their security spot separately. Now, if you are going to audit Infosys, whether you will not be able to audit those security spots as an organization. Infosys.
Yeah, we can see it all depends on what is specified in the contract. For example, when we are doing the application, we are doing the audit of the application software. At that time it was called Finacle. Now it's called at time it was called Bank 2000, and now it's called Finacle. Okay, when we did the audit, one of the conditions we put in the particular condition is we are not only they created a test environment for us, where we created every type of department with different types of access levels, and we tested some sample data of one of the banks. Okay. We also put in a condition we would like to visit two banks, okay, where physically the software is installed, and we would like to test how it's actually done in a physical environment. So they got permission from the particular banks, one private bank and one government bank, and we were able to visit that particular business. Although we had no relationship with that particular bank. These Infosys are in that. So it's possible. Depends on what the contract you have with the vendor. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't get you.
Depends on the scope you have. And
yeah, correct. Yeah. So this gives you the cloud computing. I think this answers the question we asked earlier. Now, if you look at audit, cloud computing audit, so you should remember for every new technology, is it a problem or an opportunity for the auditors? It's an opportunity. Same thing for the enterprise. Every new technology is an opportunity to provide better service. And every new technology is an opportunity for the auditor to provide service on how they can implement. But what is the requirement for that? First, the auditor should be trained in that, and then they should be able to explain to the management what the value they bring to the table. Now there is again chicken policy here. Most of the cases. Now they say, how do I get the clients? Now the clients demand the experience. Which should come first? How do you get experience? How do you get the clients? What is the solution for that?
You need to have a team which has a mixed kind of thing.
No, correct. No, I'm talking. See, somebody who has done CISA, or they did a forensic audit course for CA Institute, like that. They have done the course. Then they say, where is the opportunity? Or when they look at the opportunity, they say, you should have got experience. How do they get the experience? So the simple solution for that, I say, first get the experience even at a cost, which means you have existing clients. Pick up the particular clients and do that as a part of your regular audit. You're doing a company audit or regular audit for that one. Do that as an experiment, because that client is already your client for so many years. You are getting that internal audit or company audit. Do all the experimentation there. Okay, tell him that I'm going to do the assignment, maybe free of cost or a nominal cost. Do that, get the experience, and then you can apply it to the other clients. Just like they say, once a young boy was sitting near a mountain, he wanted to cross the mountain, and it was sunny, and he was wondering how will he cross at this time of the day. After some time, he found an old man happily singing and climbing down. And this young man went to him and asked him, "Sir, I am thinking how to cross the mountain, but you seem to be happily crossed at your age and come back." He said, "Gentleman, young man, it's very simple. Send the mind first, the body will follow." So in IT audit also, I think very important that we need to send our mind first. This is the expertise I want. This area I want to work on. Get the expertise. There is knowledge in abundance now. Just look at ISACA, the knowledge repository there. There's a tremendous amount of this knowledge available. Now invest on that to get the expertise. Okay. Like I always say, there are two types of activities we are busy in. What are the two types of activities? Repairs and maintenance, R&D. If you take a particular all the activities you do right from the day, especially your professional activities, and then put it in these two categories. And look at it, tell me how much percentage of activities is in R&P and R&M. What do you say? Most of the activities are in R&P, repairs and maintenance, because you already done that. It's like one young man went for an interview, and he probably said, "Sir, I've got 11 years experience." The interviewer looked at him, smiled and said, "Gentlemen, it's not 11 year experience. 1 year experience repeated 11 times." Okay, now you need to look at, as a professional, what is the type of experience you're getting compared to, let's say, 23, we're coming to the end. Look at 23 and see what is the type of activity you have done. What are the new things you've learned? What are the new clients you've got? How have you worked? Or you're only continuing the past. Okay, what is done in the past, you're just continuing that and maintaining. So most of it is R&D. So if you want to change orbits in your career, what is changing orbits? You're moving in a particular orbit, you want to change orbits. In that case, what you need to do? You need to scale up. You need to invest. Okay. First, this is what I said, in any audit, first thing is you need to understand what is the vision, business vision, what do they want to achieve? Okay, what is the visibility? Okay, what needs to be done? What are the services? Then accountability. And then how to ensure this is sustainable. So this is where you start. Now, for example, let's say practical, I have given this governance checklist which came from one of the ISACA publications. It tells you, okay, if you're doing cloud enterprise risk management topic, okay, what are the specific aspects? Who has to do what? How to review the strategy used for implementing cloud computing? These are some of the questions we can ask. Okay, these are the publications which are available from ISACA. IT control objectives for cloud computing. In fact, CA Institute has also come out with a guideline on cloud computing. And RBI also has got a publication, I think, on cloud computing. Now this gives you the perspective. Okay, for example, if you look at COVID, for each of the control objective domains or areas, they're given for each of the cloud servicing models, what are the risks which is there? Okay, ensure system security. They break down into the next areas. Manage IT security, what are the risks in each of these areas? Okay, similarly, they give you the reports. Example, what are the steps you need to follow for auditing cloud? Okay, this is a sample audit report for a cloud computing. Interestingly, there is an IS audit assurance program for a cloud computing issued by ISACA, which is also available and ready to use checklist. So what are the key concepts? This is the key ideas I want to convey. So successful cloud implementation requires that enterprise work with legal, security and audit professionals to ensure that the appropriate levels of security and privacy are achieved. So it's not a one-man job or a one-team job. Okay, you need to consider all the departments, all the stakeholders have to be taken into consideration. Now in migrating to the cloud, you should not only look at the cost, okay, you should also look at the risks and the benefits. Based on the potential savings and the risk mitigation strategy, enterprise can make better decisions on what cloud platform to choose and how the services will be offered. One of the interesting statement which I heard from many of the founders of BPO companies, they say when BPO companies were started in India, when they went in for marketing, and they say that they came for cost. Okay, when they initially outsourced, most of the US companies, European companies outsourced for cost because there's a cost benefit. But they say they're stuck because of the value. So it's not just the cost, because you give value, then you can actually migrate and ensure that they remain for a longer time. Auditors will always have a role. Now this is the important thing. Whatever be the technology, wherever it is there, auditors will have a role. Why do you think auditors have a role? In any technology implementation, in any enterprise, auditors will have a role to play, provided they are prepared to play. What do you think auditors have a role to play? Does the need for auditor change with technology evolution? Will auditors become redundant? Now we are also talking about AI-based audit. Okay, will they become redundant? What do you say?
No.
No, why?
Because auditors are there to check the process again to achieve that goal through whatever technology.
No, I think even AI is a technology, so AI has its own security inside it, own mathematics inside it.
Professional judgment.
Yeah.
Okay. See, the most important thing is, whatever be the type of process being provided, there has to be an independent review and evaluation. As long as there's a need for review and evaluation, there will always be a need for an audit. Okay, I just want to check 2-3 minutes and show you the documents. Okay, this is the Excel file which I talked about. Oh, I closed it. Yeah, Cloud Computing Audit Program. See this same way which I showed you for Azure. I think they may have for Google also, I'm not sure. You can check. See, they give you the first page, gives you the instructions. Okay. You find everything about ISACA, there is a structure. You remember I showed you the video of the this one painting. There is a particular structure. There are steps which you can follow. And then if you know how to do it, you can use it for any type of a client. So they give you structure with the instructions, and then they give you the broad areas. You have got governance. Okay, control objective, controls, control type, testing step. What are these questions you need to ask? How do you test?
Is it based on the CCA, Cloud Security Alliance?
See, which one?
CCA?
No, this is from ISACA. This is from ISACA, Information Systems Audit Association. See, another important point, it is not necessary that what is there in ISACA is the ultimate. You can always complement with other checklists and other things which are available from other institutions. For example, NIST has something on cyber security. Use that, complement it. Use it wherever it's required. Okay, similarly, if you look at the PDF files, now this is what I was talking about. See the different publications which I showed you. Okay, now this is now if you look at download the zip file, if you look at Azure Audit Program, it has got two things. One is the Excel file, one is the PDF file. Okay, the Excel file is the one which has the detailed audit programs. Okay, now if you look at the publication cloud, this one security consideration of cloud computing, this is a complete this one which covers everything about cloud computing. Similarly, you have audit oversight for onboarding vendors. This is a publication. Similarly, manage third-party risk. This is a publication. And then you have master direction. This is what I told you about Reserve Bank of India. There's a master directions also available from the Reserve Bank of India. And the beauty is, when I went to the document, I was surprised. The team, generally government organizations, they have appointed a particular committee and done it. What is interesting is this is excellent because they actually picked up from most of the international publications, picked up what is most relevant, and then put it in this particular outsourcing in this document. Okay, so we have spent about 2 hours. I think before I close, I just want to close with 2 stories. It said once a Zen master was taking a walk with a disciple who had joined him recently, and they had to cross a place where there was stagnant water. And the Zen master began picking up his clothes and then walking. At that time, he found a beautiful lady came, and she also had to cross, and she was wearing a white flowing gown, and she also had to cross, and she was hesitant because her clothes and feet would get dirty. The Zen master, a very old man, looked at the lady, understood her predicament, and offered, "Can I carry you?" She agreed. So this old man took the beautiful lady in his arms, crossed the water, and then left her. She said thank you, and he said thank you. They walked back. After 1 hour, they reached the next village, and the Zen master looked at the young disciple's face. This young fellow's face was a picture of fury. The Zen master smiled and asked, "What happened?" The young man said, "How could you do that?" Which means what? When this young disciple had joined, the Zen master had told him that as Zen master, you should not look at ladies, you should avoid all this particular thing. When the opportunity came, this old man forget all about his principles, carried the young lady in his arms. And the Zen master said, "I dropped her near the bridge. Are you still carrying her?" What is the message? The same thing I want to tell about technology. Forget the young man, young lady. Take technology. You should know how to carry technology as required. What is most important is your business principles and values. Use technology as required, drop it and move forward. Okay. It's like one professor was taking a walk. A very successful businessman came to the professor and said, "Thank you, sir. I owe my success to you. All that I'm here is because of you." And this guy said, "No, I have not seen you. I know I have seen your this one face in the magazines, but did you study in our college? Did I teach you? Was you a professor?" He said, "No." Then he said, "How do you say that you owe my success to me?" The businessman explained. So let me just explain. In this particular year, you had come to a convocation, and then you are the one who are giving me the certificates. The professor remembered, "Yes, sir, this particular university." He said, "Yes. Sir, you remember you had come to the university and gave me the certificate. And you patted me in the back and gave me some advice, personally for me. And I implemented that. I have been successful." This guy became very surprised. He said, his speech is also cancelled because of the power cut. He was sweating profusely. There were so many students for whom certificate has to be given. So he asked, I don't remember giving any speech. What is that you took from me as an advice? Sir, remember, sir, there's such a long queue. When my turn came, you gave me the certificate, patted me in the back and said, keep moving, keep moving. And that's the principle I followed in my life. I think what we need to remember is technology will keep coming and keep going. What we need to do is we need to keep moving in life and progress further and further. So thank you very much.